Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I actually want to talk about the news that did come out today, and that is regarding the Rick and Michonne television show. And yeah, we got some pretty disappointing news. It definitely is very disappointing. Like I wasn't expecting this. I really wasn't. I figured that there would be more than one season, but it seems like we do have the confirmation now. And yeah, people are very, very disappointed. Just based off of the responses here, it's like some people are really, really upset and mad, and just, yeah, people are just very disappointed with this because we've been waiting for Rick for a very long time. And he is coming back. We're getting that. They're going to be filming in like a month or two, or I guess technically 2 months, but it's only going to be for 6 episodes, which is really, really rushed. So yeah, anyways, before going any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. I apologize for not uploading for the last couple of days. My voice is just kind of like, you can probably hear it right now. So yeah, I'm just kind of getting through that, but luckily I do feel a lot better and stuff right now. And I actually do have 2 other videos already basically ready to come out, which I think that will probably come out tomorrow or Thursday or something like that. So yeah, a bunch more videos coming out the next couple of days, and then I'll get to work on some stuff afterwards. Just, yeah, if I can't really talk and stuff like that, I can't really record. So that's kind of, but yeah, let's actually talk about this here. Let's actually get into the news here. So the info that we're getting here comes from @AndyLincoln News, which obviously is very, very credible. Like, this account definitely is very, very reliable for anything with Andrew Lincoln. Like any news regarding Andrew Lincoln. And obviously a lot of people want news on Rick Grimes and stuff like that. And everything that this account has ever posted, any sort of insider information that's ever come out, this account has been like 100% right. I don't really, at least from my experience anyways, I don't remember a time where it wasn't. So yeah, I'm assuming that definitely like this news here is legit. And basically what they said was, info, the Rick and Michonne series will only have 1 season. It is the final chapter of Rick Grimes. And so, as soon as I saw that, it wasn't completely disappointing. I mean, it was definitely disappointing, but I was kind of expecting it a little bit. Like, it's been very weird. Ever since they announced it in July, EW came out and said that, no, this is the first season of a continuing series. So I thought, okay, well, like maybe 3-4 seasons or something like that at the absolute most. But this is the first season of a continuing series, and everyone sort of went off of that. And then you would see other news outlets covering the same thing, saying, oh, the first season of this show comes out in 2023. But then you would hear other things, like Deny actually came out at one point and said it's a limited series, which to me, I mean, that doesn't really say a lot, because limited series, yeah, it's a limited series, but limited series do get renewed for more seasons, right? Like they will actually get a season 2 or a season 3. And I figured, just based off of how big the story is here with Rick and Michonne and the stuff with the CRM, that there would be so much more to tell here. Like, you can't possibly tell this story in 6 episodes. Like, you really can't. And I've talked about this before. Like, I don't know how you can actually get this done in 6 episodes. That is extremely rushed. It is very, very fast. And that's kind of my worry here, honestly. Like, we've been sort of really wondering what the end game here for Rick would be, in terms of his reunion, I guess, with Michonne, his reunion with Daryl and everyone else. Well, based off of this, it doesn't seem like he's going to be reuniting with Daryl and everyone else anyways, right? It kind of seems like he's going to have his reunion with Michonne. Maybe in the end, he goes back to Alexandria or something like that. But it just kind of feels like that's the end. And I don't know where they're going to go after that. Like, well, I guess I do know. Like, that's basically going to be it. So that storyline right there, I find very, very off. Like what Rick and Michonne, like they reunite, go back to Alexandria, or I guess the Commonwealth, or I guess they'd probably go back to Alexandria, right, and live there because that was sort of their home. So they would go back to Alexandria, they would reunite with Judith and with RJ, and then everyone else that's gone, I guess they just sort of already know. And that's where I have a lot of questions with really a lot of things here, right? Like, if Dead City takes place, say, like 2 or 3 years into the future, because I know Jeffrey Dean Morgan said it takes place a couple years later, something like that, right? So say it's 2 years or whatever into the future, 2-3 years. At that point, first of all, it's 2-3 years after the ending of The Walking Dead, which already jumped forward a year, right? So it's pretty far into the future. Michonne's been looking for him for a while. I guess it depends on the timeline of when Rick does come back, but I'm assuming that Rick's going to be coming back basically right away. And so that tells me, though, that unless the Rick and Michonne show is set years into the future, like literally 10 to 15 years, or like, I don't know what, but basically it would need to be set like 5 years after the finale, 4 or 5 years after the finale. Otherwise, in Dead City, when we see Maggie and Negan there, they already know that Rick's back, right? Like, for them, they already know that Rick and Michonne made it back and they're safe and fine. And for the Daryl show, it really depends, because again, Daryl's show is really set on going out there to find Rick, right? Like that's sort of the premise of this, is that he's out there going to search for Rick and Michonne. He wants to find any clues of just their survival, just anything from them. And then something bad happens, I guess, and he ends up in France. I imagine the story out there, you know, they might focus a lot on some of the CRM stuff, or there might be elements there because of how he got there. It really depends. I don't know. But to me, I think they're going to focus on a lot of other story elements, which I'm totally fine with, honestly. I think it could be really, really great. There's fast zombies, right? Like those zombies are going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff there that I think can actually make the show really good. But I just find it weird if this show is going to continue for however many seasons and the Rick and Michonne show is getting one season, they're going to probably go back to Alexandria in the end. I'm guessing like that's sort of how you have to end Rick's story, right? Unless Rick just dies, which in that case, if Rick just dies, that's also very disappointing at this point, because we're not getting a reunion with Daryl and everyone else. So like, yeah, I don't know. Like, obviously I'm going to be grateful that we're getting anything. Like, obviously I'm very, very happy that we're getting one season here. I want to see Rick and Michonne's story completed for sure. I do want to get that. It's just, I do agree with a lot of you guys. Like, I really do agree that this is going to be very, very rushed. Like, I just don't know how it can't be rushed. Like, there's so much here, right? And like, that's one aspect to it. Like, yeah, obviously, like, first of all, if you have 6 episodes. So in 6 episodes, you need to somehow wrap up the CRM story. I don't see that being a possibility. There's no way they're going to do that. And that's my whole thing about all of this here is it really does feel like a lot of plans changed, right? Like, I think Gimple really wanted to do World Beyond to sort of world build and show us what the CRM are like, so that when we got into the movie trilogy, it would be this whole epic thing and we'd have this sort of backstory and there would be this whole just story there, right? Where if you were a fan and you watched World Beyond, you would totally get it. And there would be this really crazy epic story, obviously, in this movie trilogy that would come out over a couple of years, maybe 4 or 5 years or 6 years or something like that. And in between there, you would have Daryl spinoffs and the Maggie and Negan spinoff and a bunch of other things happening sort of thing. And then eventually maybe Fear the Walking Dead would end. You would have Morgan and Rick reunite. You would have all of these moments basically, right? That last movie would have everyone coming together basically, right? And then defeating the CRM or whatever they were planning to do. And then in the end, I guess it would just be this happy reunion in Alexandria. And so for 6 episodes, like, it's just, I don't know what you can really do with that, honestly. I don't see there being any reunion at all besides maybe Rick and Michonne going back to Alexandria. Like, I could see something like that play out. But man, 6 episodes, that's going to be super fast. Like, the thing about having the final season was that, you know, it was overall 24 episodes. But it really did kind of feel like a ride throughout the entire thing. Like, we had to watch it over a year and however many months, right? Like, we got that first part in the summer of 2021 going into the fall. Second part was in the winter going into the spring. Third part was in I guess just the fall, right? So like, it was a really crazy epic event. There was 3 parts. There were some parts people didn't like, whatever. But it was overall, like, honestly, if you look at that season, it definitely was pretty epic in terms of how they released it and just the gigantic and very big story that they told there, right? And the finale was definitely worth it. The finale was epic. Like, that was, honestly, it's definitely one of the best episodes I've ever watched of The Walking Dead. And so to finish Rick and Michonne's story like this, I just don't see how it's possible. I really don't, because you have to ignore Rick and Daryl's reunion. Like, how else is that going to happen? I really don't see how that can happen, because if that happens at some point in that episode, like, it's just, I don't know. And that's honestly kind of a concern I have a little bit, right? Like, I always thought that Daryl's reaction to finding out that Rick was alive was going to be something very big, something very, very epic and emotional. That would be really like this iconic scene that people would just, you know, always rewatch. You know, Rick has had a lot of moments like that. Like when he first found Carl in season 1, that was really awesome. There's been some moments throughout the series where things like that have happened. Like everyone's reaction to when they thought that Rick died on that bridge, right? Like you see Daryl's reaction, you see Michonne's reaction. Everyone was freaking out then. Daryl's reaction in the finale to finding out that Rick was alive or that he could be out there was just sort of, that's pretty cool. Like, it was just really not a reaction at all. And I was very, very disappointed with that. So to me, when I look at this here, yeah, it's cool to get Rick and Michonne, but I'm definitely worried about that. I'm definitely worried that when this show ends, they're not going to reunite. And if they do, they might just do it where it's a very fast scene at the very end. And you just see Daryl there and Rick's there and they're just kind of happy or whatever. But there's no big story there. There's no, you know what I mean? That's what I'm worried about. I'm definitely very worried about that. If this show was like 18 episodes in total, say they wanted to do like 3 blocks of 6, then I'm like, okay, yeah, you can definitely tell a story like that because you can really work out so much. Like, you can have Rick and Michonne reunite in that 6th episode, build up a lot of stuff beforehand, do a lot of world building, focus on what Rick's been up to for the last however many years, right? And how hard things have been for him and whatnot. And, you know, focus on Michonne and what she's been doing and stuff like that. The second part, you would get into some other stuff. Like, there's a way that you can do that there where it would work really well. But yeah, anyways, obviously this isn't like 100% confirmed, but if you do follow that account, like, that account is never really wrong about anything. Like, it hasn't really been wrong from my experience. So if this ends up being the case, which I really do at this point believe it's going to be, just because, yeah, I really do trust this account. But yeah, you know, I think that this is definitely pretty heartbreaking news here, just based off of all of the comments here. I'm going through everything here. People are disappointed. People are upset. Some people are very angry. Yeah, I don't think anyone's really going to be that happy with it. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm going through all the comments here on this post, and it's pretty crazy. Like, people don't like this. Like, people are definitely very upset about this. And so, yeah, it's just kind of one of those things that I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I'm just assuming it's going to be one season. I do think it's probably just going to be that. You never know with where things could go in the future. Maybe, you know, with how they tell the story, with where things could be in the summer, maybe things change, right? Like, if you think of the way the movies were planned, like, the movies were basically planned out and everything was sort of working there, and then they were like, well, we're not going to do them. All right, well, let's just do a television show then. And so they came up with this idea. So things change all the time. Like, you never know if this show is extremely successful, and it really depends on the story here. Maybe, you know, in a way it ends Rick and Michonne's story, but maybe there's another spinoff that could happen afterwards that would reunite Rick and Daryl and stuff like that, right? I don't know. I'm just being hopeful basically at this point, but yeah, definitely really sad news, but I would like to know what you guys think. How do you feel about this news? Are you okay with it being one season, or do you wish it was like 2 seasons or maybe 3? Definitely post your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.